In-laws can sometimes be real energy-sucking fiends, but at least they're not a group of psychos that want to hunt you down and sacrifice you to the Dark Lord. Welcome back, guys. It's Motion Recaps again, and today we're covering the 2019 thriller comedy, Ready or Not. This movie follows Grace as she marries a man named Alex from the wealthy Ladamas family. Years ago, his great-great-grandfather made a deal with a mysterious man called Mr. LeBale, and the family must play one game at the end of the wedding ceremony. The new family member pulls a card with a game on it. The game can be something simple like chutes and ladders, or something complicated like chess. Grace pulls out the worst possible card, and she gets to play hide and seek. She thinks that she'll be playing a regular game, and she doesn't know that the family needs to hunt and sacrifice her before dawn. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Well, before we go on any further, let's take a moment right now to check that we've subscribed to this channel, that you've liked this video if you're enjoying the recap thus far, and that you hit that bell icon to be notified of when we've got another movie recap ready for you to enjoy. Doing these small steps really helps us grow our community and grow this channel, so that we can continue bringing you some of the best movie recaps out there. Alright, ready or not, here we come. The movie begins with two siblings running around the house. The older one hides his younger brother in a cellar, and then a wounded man approaches him. He asks the kid to stay silent, but the kid yells and reveals the man's location. A bunch of masked people show up with a bride. The masked people then grab the poor man, and they drag him as he begs the bride to do something. 30 years later, we meet our protagonist Grace, who is practicing vows before her wedding. She's getting married to a guy from a rich family that made billions by making and selling games. Her future husband comes in, and his name is Alex. He's the younger brother from the beginning of the movie. Alex asks her if she wants to get married, because they could simply run away instead. Grace tells him that she's sure, and then the older brother Daniel comes in, and he informs him that the ceremony will begin very soon. Everyone heads out. First, they'll have a photo shoot, and there we meet the other family members. Alex's mother and father, Becky and Tony, Daniel's wife, Charity, and the creepy aunt, Helene. She's the bride from the beginning of the movie. Grace and Alex get married, and after the ceremony, they go to their bedroom. There they make out, but Grace notices Helene. Helene tells them that they need to attend a family ceremony soon, and then she heads out. Alex explains to Grace that she will need to play a game to get into the family. He tells her that it's just a tradition, and that she'll pick a card with the name of a game on it. The two of them go downstairs, where the family's waiting for them. Soon, 4 more family members arrive. Alex's sister Emily, with her husband Fitch and their 2 kids. Everyone sits at the table, and Tony explains the story of their family. His great-grandfather invented a tradition in which the new family member needs to play a game as initiation. As he tells that to Grace, everyone is passing around one box. The box comes back to Tony, and he puts a blank card in there. He tells Grace to open the box and to take the card to see which game she'll play. She pulls hide and seek. Everyone is silent, especially Alex and Daniel. Tony tells Grace the rules. She simply needs to hide and stay hidden until dawn while the family members are looking for her. Then he tells her that the game will be played without the help of technology, and their servants turn off cameras and lock the doors. Tony puts on a vinyl with a hide-and-seek song. Grace gets out of the room, and eventually she hides in a dumbwaiter. She doesn't have any idea of what will soon happen. Tony gives weapons to family members, and they head out looking for Grace. Only Charity stays to watch Alex stay in the room. However, he uses a secret passage and gets away. Grace is getting really bored in the dumbwaiter, and she gets out. She accidentally wakes up one of the maids who's supposed to be babysitting Emily's kid. The maid sees that the older kid is not there, and she ventures out to find him. Grace sees her, and she gets to a room where Alex grabs her, and they hide behind the bed as the maid enters. Suddenly, a loud shot echoes, and the maid falls to the floor. Emily shot her in the face, thinking that the maid was Grace. The whole family arrives, and Tony scolds her because she killed the maid, and because she must not shoot to kill Grace because they need her alive for some ritual. The family takes the maid's body, and they head out. Alex takes advantage of this chance, and he escapes with Grace in the secret passage. There they argue about the whole thing. Alex tells her that the family believes that they need to sacrifice her before dawn, or everyone in the family will die. Grace gets mad at him because he didn't tell her about this before the wedding. Alex tells her that he was afraid that she would leave him, and also that no one pulled hide-and-seek cards in a long time. Everyone had pulled just regular games. Alex then promises Grace that he'll help her, and he explains to her the way to the kitchen. He'll go to the control room, and there he'll open the door for her to escape. The couple splits up. Grace rips her wedding dress so that she can move easier. She forgets the instructions, which Alex told her, and she picks the wrong door. She gets out just between Emily and the other family members. Emily shoots and Grace manages to escape. She hides in one room, but Daniel gets in and he tells her that he'll give her a head start and that he must call the family members. Grace can see that he's not evil and that he hates his rich family. Grace starts running, and after some time, Daniel yells that he found her. The family members gather, and Tony gets mad at Daniel because he let Grace go. Emily is crying because she didn't kill her, and Fitch gives her a crossbow. At that moment, another maid comes in, and Emily accidentally shoots her in the eye. The maid is still alive, and Helene ends her suffering with an axe. Grace decides to get a weapon, and she takes a hunting rifle and some bullets. At that time, Alex gets into the control room. Grace sneaks into the kitchen, but the house servant Stevens appears. He's whistling and singing. Grace uses that chance to load the rifle. Alex opens the door, and Grace gets up, and she points the rifle at Stevens, but he tells her that the rifle is just a replica. And when Grace pulls the trigger, she figures out that he's right. Stevens attacks her with a knife, but she hits him with a teapot and runs away. Daniel and Tony figure out that survival cameras are on, and they head out to the control room. Tony arrives there and he starts a fight with Alex. Alex overpowers him and Tony falls to the ground, gasping. Then Daniel comes in, and he tries to talk with Alex to calm the situation down, but Tony knocks Alex out. Grace is running through the hallway, and she gets an idea to hide in the dumbwaiter. However, she finds the maid hiding there. She asks her to switch places, but the maid snitches by yelling and revealing Grace's location. She accidentally activates the dumbwaiter mechanism, and the maid loses her head. Stevens finds the family members, and he informs them that Grace tried to escape and that all the doors are unlocked now. Grace jumps over the balcony. She sees that someone is outside with a flashlight, and she runs away to a barn. There she hides. Someone is approaching, and she's relieved when she sees it's just Emily's son. However, she doesn't know that the little goblin is armed. The kid shoots her in the palm, making a huge hole in it. Grace punches the hell out of him. She takes his flashlight. Suddenly, a goat spooks her, and she falls into a hole which is full of the remains of dead sheep and goats, and even some humans. Grace throws up because of the smell, and then she begins to climb. The old ladder breaks, and Grace holds herself up with one hand. She decides to use the other, even if it's injured. However, she impales her hand on a huge nail, and she screams in pain as she's trying to get out. After she gets out somehow, she runs away. Charity sees her and tries to shoot Grace, but she misses. Then she informs Stevens that Grace is going to the north fence. Grace gets through the fence, but she cuts her back really badly. She tries to stop a car that's passing by, but the guy inside just drives away. The family gets a call from Stevens, who tells him that he's going to go find her. Alex wakes up cuffed in one room, and he tries to cut a part of the bed frame. Stevens gets out of the car, and he starts looking for Grace. She's hiding behind the trees. He sees her, and he gets back to his car. He chases her with it, and when he leaves the car, they begin to fight. Grace rips a piece off of her wedding dress, and she chokes Stevens with it. He loses consciousness, and Grace gets into his car. She drives away and contacts the emergency line, and he tells the guy to call the police. The guy tells Grace that he got a warning that she stole the car, and then he shuts the car down. Stevens appears. He breaks the glass, and he tranquilizes Grace. Stevens is driving her back to the family. Grace wakes up while Stevens is informing the family that he's coming back with Grace. He leaves the video call on, and then the family sees Grace getting up. They try to warn Steven, but he turns the music on too loud, and Grace attacks him and the car crashes. Grace gets out, but Daniel shows up, and Grace tries to reason with him by telling him that she knows that he's a good guy and that he wants to help her. However, Daniel hits her with his rifle, and Grace loses consciousness. Back in the house, Becky tells a story to Emily's kids about a family friend called Mr. LaBelle, and he's the reason that they're rich. However, sometimes they need to give something in return, and that something is a sacrifice. It's a classic deal with the devil story. The family puts on their robes and they prepare everything for the sacrifice. We can see that there's a special seat for Mr. LaBelle. They drink something from the cup before Tony raises the blade. However, everyone starts coughing, and it turns out that Daniel poisoned the drink. He unties Grace, and they begin to run. At that time, Alex manages to cut off a part of the bed frame and free himself. Charity finds Daniel and Grace. She points a gun at Grace, and Daniel steps in between them. Charity shoots him without even blinking, and he falls to the ground. Grace knocks her out, and she immediately checks Daniel, who's bleeding to death. He tells her to run, and Grace immediately goes. Soon, Tony finds her, and he attacks her, but she slams a lamp into his head. After that, Becky shows up, and she attacks Grace. Grace manages to overpower her, and she takes the puzzle box, and she kills Becky with it. Alex finds his dead brother, and then he finds Becky. Alex approaches Grace, and she's visibly scared of him. She doesn't know if she can trust him. Alex asks her if she still wants to be with him after all of this, and Grace is silent. Alex then snitches on her, and he calls his other family members. They're all holding Grace tightly on the table, and they chant and praise Satan. Alex is holding the knife, and his hand is going towards Grace. However, Grace stabs her nails into Helene's hand, and she manages to move, and Alex misses her heart. The knife goes into her shoulder. Grace gets up and pulls the knife out, screaming in pain. She's ready to defend herself, but Helene pulls the curtains, saying that everything is over because it's dawn. Everyone in the family expects something to happen. However, nothing is happening. Everything is normal. Helene then tells Grace that she will die anyway, and she attacks her. To everyone's surprise, Helene explodes. The gramophone turns itself on, and the hide-and-seek song plays as everyone begins to explode. Mr. LaBelle is taking his toll. Eventually, Alex is the only family member left alive, and he tells Grace that he's not like the rest of his family. But Grace knows he's the same as them, because he wanted to kill her. She takes off the ring and tells Alex that she's divorcing him. Alex then explodes, and the family home catches fire. Grace goes outside, and she sits down to smoke a cigarette while the house is burning. The movie ends there. And that's a recap of the comedy thriller, Ready or Not. And yes, the movie is quite bloody and violent, so if you're averse to such things, please keep that in mind. Now, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to this channel, liking this video if you enjoyed this recap, and on top of that, hit that bell icon to be notified of when we have another movie recap ready for you to enjoy. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.